Welcome to Your Health Reset, where we address the real root causes behind health issues today to get you rapid results on your health journey so you can be who you came here to be, mind, body, and spirit. I'm your host, Sinclair Kennally, survivor of complex chronic illness, expert on resolving root causes, and co-founder of Detox Rejuvenation and Meditation RX. Let's get started. Welcome back. I'm your host, Sinclair Kennally, and we are continuing our conversation on root causes and how to achieve those rapid results once we finally go far enough upstream to deal with it has really disrupted our health. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Rob Besner, CEO and Chief Science Officer of Therasage, who has always been an advocate for natural health and wellness. I'm so excited to have him on today. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate being here and have the opportunity to shed some of the wisdom and the research and the simple solutions that people can bring into their lives to make a huge difference in their optimal health.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm really excited to share what you have created with the world and be a part of making sure that people understand just how accessible these tools are to create rapid results, even in their own home today. I would
Right.
love to start before we dive into that with how you actually arrived in this field of work and why it became such a passion for you.
It started maybe 25 to 26 years ago. My oldest child, my daughter, Julia, contracted Lyme disease and health minded. I have a few different skill sets I've acquired over the years. And on the medical health side of me, retired from areas of business that I was in and decided to be the home nurse for my daughter.
Mm.
So we found some of the best Lyme litter doctors available. She was on a normal allopathic and MD track, which involved fairly caustic antibiotics and so forth regimens. That's all they knew how to do then. So it's hard to, you got to keep things into perspective because there weren't really a lot of really top-notch Lyme litter doctors. Even though Lyme was around, it just wasn't well researched and well developed and protocols well developed. And so we were in that part of that really steep learning curve there. And so when quickly realized that even though, and many people out there are listening and tuning in today can appreciate this, when you have a chronic ailment and you're searching for the root cause, and if you're lucky enough to find what that is and figure out that part of it, that's a big piece of the discussion. You get yourself into the path of what can I do to get myself set up to get back to my optimal health or what I used to be like, or the new you, so to speak. So for us, when I took a look at my daughter's symptoms, she was expressing high levels of toxicity, inflammation, some cognitive challenges, and the doctors were addressing it. But you go to where our doctor was, again, we didn't have telemedicine and all the stuff. We have virtual practices that we have today. Back then, we had a doctor in New York who had corresponded with a doctor down in Florida. And after maybe 6 months or so, my daughter had a neurologist, a pain doctor, a general practitioner. I mean, it was a lineup, you know? So became complicated fast. Anyway, you go to your practitioner, they give the protocols, but then really the onus of the healing is on the individual and or the family structure, the support system around it. So I said, okay, great. Let's try to unpack what is going on for my daughter. And when I looked at it, looked at my, into sort of my bag of tricks, did some research, and I focused on high levels of toxicity and inflammation because they travel together in the body and the body systems. And if you can lower toxicity, you can lower inflammation, a lot of symptoms start to clear up. And now the person we may not have found the root cause. In our case, we knew what was going on, but sometimes you have these syndromes, which are catch-all terms that the medical community puts out when they don't really know what's going on and you're not feeling well. And generally when you have a syndrome, they say, look, it's probably all in your head when it's in your body, right? So most everybody can appreciate this. And it is very frustrating, especially when you're on the flip side and not feeling so great. So I decided to somewhat take a little bit of my skill sets into my own hands. And then looking at the dynamics said, okay, let's unpack Julia's major symptoms. When I started to focus on toxicity, I looked at the most available methods and the most modern methods for detoxing. And then in that process, I discovered that there's actually frequencies of sun energy, which is the infrared spectrum that actually will mobilize all the toxins in your body. Now that's a big wow. But back 25 years ago, you really weren't infrared technology wasn't really mainstream. In fact, in the medical community, the only doctors that were using it were sports doctors that were using infrared frequencies along with other modalities to get the players that were injured lower their pain thresholds to get them to recover from their pain and from their injury quicker and get them back on the field. I looked at some of that and I said, okay, I can take some of that and use it. And we organized a trip. I went to Asia. I saw 65 factories, found three that I liked, started developing some devices for basically home use. Julia started getting amazing results, and the doctors, her teams were said, whoa, what's going on here? What are you doing different? And they asked us to help them support their systems, their patients with the technology we were developing for home use. That was essentially the genesis of the company, Therasage.
So amazing. I've heard you tell parts of that story before, but it didn't really become clear to me until just now just how unknown this technology was and how you really had to sort it out yourself and really go across continents just to help your daughter.
Any parent listening today is would probably, and I've said this a million times, that I wish it was me. I'd gladly in a minute take the bullet for my child. And there's something not natural about your child being sick and then having all of the benefits of growing up as a young setting and adolescence with in a wholesome setting where you really can enjoy your life. I remember my childhood way back when, and I was out on the street till the sun came down playing some kind of ball. Anything with a ball was my thing. I just wanted the same for my children. And of course, watching my daughter going through her teens, feeling the effects of a chronic ailment was a little bit hard for us. But again, from that birth, the opportunity to really dive in deep, discover a technology, develop a technology that now we're bringing to the world is helping just, tens of thousands of people. And it's quite a joy for us that the company, from a philanthropic point of view and in our general mission statement, to really try to help people achieve their natural health and just dial up their optimal, their genetics and everything that their deliverer gave them so that they can actually be healthy to their last breath.
It's such a phenomenal commitment because it's so needed right now more than ever. And I know so many parents are resonating if they listen to this for you. And you brought up infrared, and this really is like a whole revolution that people can take their health
Right.
into their own hands. Can you just describe for folks that may not already know in detail the influence of full spectrum infrared frequencies on our health? Like, how does that work?
Okay, sure. This is an extraction of sun energy. And what we've done as a company is just isolated these wavelengths that are super important. In fact, of the wavelengths of the sun, these are considered to be the most healing energies. So we have nurturing energies, that's the UV lights, UV spectrum. These are invisible to the eye, by the way. So that we're bathing in these frequencies all day. And of course, people just tuning in or people just in general, they know about other frequencies like 5G. They know there's some negative impacts there. Well, there are some way positive impacts in wavelengths of sound and light energy. Basically, many of like Einstein just studied the sun thermals and the effect on the planet, and he came out with broad statements: without sun energy, without infrared frequencies, there would be no life on the planet as we know it today. This is pretty broad, right? And for me, as a bioscientist and researcher, I'm always looking for the microscopic mechanisms, mechanisms that really how the body reacts to nature, and particularly in my area of energies, sun energy and energy medicine, how we can dial in the proper frequencies and really find ourselves bathing in frequencies that will actually support our healing and our journey, our wellness journey. Probably for the first 15 to 20 years of our company's about 25 years old now. And for the first 15 years or so, we focused only on chronic ailment because our main focus was Lyme disease. And our main focus at Therasage was to develop devices that could help our daughter and other Lyme patients, or to hopefully hook up with the doctor somewhere that was doing some research that would spark an interest in my brain to say, wow, let's go down this rabbit hole and see what else we can discover. And I'm still doing that today. Sinclair, no matter whatever door I go through, I'm always searching for that next little key. And I've been so fortunate. I got into doing this research fairly early on in terms of the history of infrared. It is confusing. People now, if you go on the internet and you just dial in infrared full spectrum, you get this big range between near frequencies, far frequencies. We just took What we did was we just took a page out of nature's playbook. In nature, the sun delivers a full array of frequencies. And in terms of the infrared spectrum, there's near, mid, and far, and each of those wavelengths do something. And in terms of your body, you can't get too much of it. So you can, in terms of, let's say, infrared sauna, you could, if you've got a chronic ailment, you could overdo it, get a detox response. I'm not talking about that.
Mm.
What I'm saying is that just the infrared in nature, if you're like, think about it, if you dial back 10,000 years, we were living on the land in caves and tents. We were out farming and hunting all day. We spent all day out in the fields. So what happens in nature, there's generally a balance. The UV spectrum is the light that causes your skin to get tan or red or overdone, sunburning in a sense. But it also produces natural vitamin D3, which is super important for balancing your hormones. And there's 30% of your body functions you need to have vitamin D in place in order for them to work properly. So that's how important vitamin D is, right? And it will shift your pH in your body. And that we're discovering in clinic these days is that most systemic diseases aspire in acidic environments. And so if you can shift your internal environment to be more alkaline, this is a tidbit, by the way, then you're going to drive pathogens out. You can actually create a healthy terrain inside, and all the bugs and the parasites, the bad guys are going to start leaving the range or leaving the island, so to speak. So that's the journey that we're on. It was a very primal journey. And we harnessed all of our thinking around primal healing. Because even though we're searching for root causes, many of the solutions is really about creating a primal healing platform, which involves in bringing nature back into your lives. And think about the world these days. We wear shoes of some kind, right? So we are walking on the earth, but we're not touching the earth. So we don't get the benefit of earthing or that negative charge of the earth to balance out our body energies. We're living in an environment where we've got GMOs and glyphosates and chemtrails and all this stuff coming on. So if you're living and you're breathing, eating, and drinking, you're getting toxic. Having a detox protocol, either through the dietary approaches that you take every day and or doing something like infrared sauna, is a really great way to keep, your body in check, make sure you're moving in a positive direction, you keep all your systems in harmony and harness the energy of nature. And what we've done is just taken those concepts and put them into devices that are very easily to be used in your home and are affordable. And so it's our mantra. Going through the experience that we had with our daughter, sometimes some months we had $30,000 bills between traveling and hotels and food and doctors and medications and on and on.
Tears.
So coming back out the other end of the tunnel, again, another philanthropic piece here at Therasage is we try to keep our prices as low as we can so that it's another little contribution so that you can get ahead, use our devices and then get the benefit without having exhausting bills.
I'm so glad you said that because there's some lovely inventions in the space. And I actually have a background in manufacturing and I look at the margins that I think they have. I think it's criminal because we need to help people. We need to help them now. And I know for me, using your products when I was really sick with Lyme and mold and Hashimoto's and fibromyalgia, I couldn't stand up for more than a few minutes at a time. My brain was totally gone. I had no idea how your devices worked. I didn't care. My boyfriend found them. He made me do them twice a day. And I'm so grateful because I could be like, oh my God, one more thing. I have to get up from this couch right now. Are you kidding me? But he would make me do it. And I'm just so grateful because I'm convinced that it was an essential part of my own rehabilitation. We really do
Right.
take our health back into our own hands. And that means we have to be able to do it in our homes.
Yeah. Back to our discussion. It's confusing. Like you and I, you're vibrant. I'm feeling pretty good today myself. But if you're not feeling so good, you have a chronic ailment, you have Lyme disease, you're flat on your back, you're not really thinking very clearly, but you still got the same dilemma. You got a problem, you're looking for a solution, then you go on the internet and then you're just deluged with near, far, what should I do? And so for us, what we figured was, look, if your body takes what it needs and we can offer a device that gives you the full array, almost like a multivitamin where you have a little bit of everything, what we're doing is we're creating the same cocktail that in frequencies that the sun delivers every day to the earth. And just recently, in the last 18 months, we actually modified our approach and dialed in more of the near end of the spectrum, even more than what the sun gives to the or nature delivers. Because what we're discovering in clinics is that people have high levels of oxidative stress, so their blood isn't holding on to oxygen anymore,
Hmm.
and they also have mitochondria stress, so they're really low energy, particularly if you're chronic. And so when I took a look at the full array of frequencies, I said, I don't know if you know a little bit of some of the things that I do, but I taught or I teach at Hippocrates for about 15 years. And I look at stare at this picture of Hippocrates and his famous line, food is your medicine. But I thought to start to think that the food of today isn't the food of Hippocrates' day, nor is our environment. And so I needed to really address what is today's current issues, chronic ailments. You said it earlier, the steepness of the curves of chronic ailments as we're moving forward. And what's really even more alarming, this came from, it's not my original thinking, but Dr. Zach Bush said the real tragedy is that the age groups that people are getting sick and coming down. So you have steep curves in chronic ailment, and people are getting it at a younger age. That's not a really good scenario. And we can change that. And I believe that it's not just about coming out with a new miracle pill or drug. I think it's about you have to have a mind shift. You have to actually change the narrative. And fortunately for me, I've had an opportunity to travel around the world looking for different devices, looking for different earth elements. We have a lot of different kind of ways that we look at our inventions, which basically incorporate nature's things, and I travel around trying to find the best quality gemstones, for instance, we use in our devices, and certain earth elements and things like that. So I discover which ones I want, then I figure out where they are, and they're not in my backyard. So in traveling outside the US, I got an opportunity to take little snapshots of the way the other cultures and other communities actually take care of their health. And for instance, in China, it's not a great topic because everybody's so upset these days on the politics. But just taking a look at their culture, they actually look at food as a tonic. And every quarter, as the seasons change, they actually change their dietary plate so that their foods will support the organs that are going to come into play in terms of your health as the seasons change throughout the year. Now, of course, we don't practice that here in the US. You can go to a gas station and buy a Twinkie that has a shelf life of 500 years. Here's a big spread between that discussion, right? And I think that we just need to bring a little bit more of that natural approach, bring more nature into our lives. And if you can't do it because of your lifestyle or because of, home situations or some kind of dynamic or the pandemic, whatever the reason is, maybe the answer is something that we've been focusing on since the beginning is we are a company that is the solution site. We look at problems, we look for natural solutions, and we look for the most affordable ways to bring them into your home.
I love that. And I think it's a phenomenal mission and it's necessary in this time. And you're certainly talking to the right audience right now. We've got our wonderful newbies who are just embarking on taking their health into their own hands. We have our gluten-free yogis who still feel like crap. They think they're doing everything right and they're still dealing with a chronic condition. And then we have our practitioners in the audience who are earnestly searching for better solutions since the tools that used to work no longer do, right? Or no longer work as well as they used to. So I would love for you to share some of your favorite biohacks for these three populations. And
Wow.
where do you
Okay.
start?
We have an hour for this interview, right? We have another one more hour, or maybe one more day.
Yeah, a
Um,
couple, well, it's just like 17 hours. This should be
yeah,
enough.
no worry. Okay, so let me try to compress all that.
Yeah.
First, I'm going to give some pearls. So I think it's really important for people to understand that in nature, there is a certain sequencing. If you take sunlight, for instance, in the earlier part of the day, the UV spectrum, gamma and X-rays are more present. It has to do with the relationship of the sun to the earth, and that's called the azimuth. And so as the earth is turning, and the sun's staying still, as the earth is turning, I'm not addressing flat earthers, by the way. I'm just looking at what the conventional view is. And again, no judgment here. As the earth is turning, the different rays become more present on the Earth's surface. And so you have gamma and X-rays are present first in the UV spectrum, as we mentioned earlier. And some of those rays are actually damaging. But in nature, there's a balance. And so if you get overexposed to UV and you stay in the sun long enough, you get infrared spectrum. And the infrared is generally between 1 o'clock and dusk. And so infrared will heal all the damage of anything you've been exposed to prior to that. And that's how it works out. Here in modern world, we hang out for the UV and we love getting the tan. And sometimes we overdo it, but we don't generally stay there long enough to get the balance of the healing process. And so what we've done is we've harnessed the healing process through sun energy. So pearl number one, sequencing is so important. And by the way, elevation and geographics is important too. So if you live at 6,000 elevation, Colorado or Santa Fe, it's a little different discussion than at sea level where I live. So anyway, ignoring the altitude or the geographic location, sequencing is really important. For instance, doing your sauna in the earliest part of the day is the most beneficial. Now, I struggle with this, and we have our own free coaching service. When you join Therasage's family and you buy products with us, then you're entitled to get on, make an appointment. You talk to my team. And basically, we take a general protocol that you get when you purchase our devices, and we dial it into a specific protocol that serves you. So there's a general place that we start. And so earlier part of the day, if I had to choose, Sinclair, between the optimal choice, which I'm giving you, or the practical choice, I'll choose practical because I want this to really be a lifestyle choice or it's lifestyle change. And if getting up extra early, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, we had a truck driver that called in and he gets up at 5 in the morning. He said, Robbie, I want to do it early, but I'm not getting up at 4 to do a sauna. Joe, when can you do it? I get home around 6, have my dinner. I usually do it in the evening. Fine. Let's work around your schedule. Why? Because doing sauna at 7 is better than 7 p.m. is better than not doing sauna at all. Right. And living in the tech world that we articulated a little earlier, you need to get a little proactive and you can do it through your foods.
Mm.
For instance, there are certain, like this is the second pearl, we combine and actually stack binders. And a binder is like a sponge, a biosponge. And so if you're in sauna or you're in infrared sunlight, and it's not the only way, by the way, to mobilize toxins. Burst training and any kind of activity like movement will also create a detox response, or mobilizing will mobilize toxins. Um, if you're a chronic Lyme and you're on your back, you're not moving anywhere. Your lymphatic system is compromised. That's a big part of your detox pathways. And certainly if you're not moving around, sweating, and the sauna offers a really great way to get poisons out. But most people, and this is another pro, there's a lot of times I hear in clinic that people have trouble sweating. And I hear it a lot from women for some reason, more than guys. I don't know why. But the number one reason for that is that they're not hydrating. And even though you drink a lot of water and it's probably the best bottled water you can find, it's still in a bottle. It's not the way nature delivers water naturally. It's not rolling down a hill, down a stream, down a mountaintop and pristine where it gets restructured by the sunlight and it gets mineralized by whatever is on the ground as it's coming down. It's none of that. And actually, most of us drink municipal water that comes out of your sink that's got all kinds of chemicals, and it's traveling down a copper or a PVC tube pipe. So it's got none of the energetics that we really need for it to be right. And so if you don't have the proper hydration in the body, then generally whatever symptoms you're expressing are much more exaggerated. For everybody listening, drink some more water and try to get structured water and try to get water that's filtered, of course. And then you may want to especially during the summer months, put a pinch of extra sodium, good salt in your diet, because that'll improve your cells to hold on to the water. And you need water in the cell to bring nutrients in and for the cell for it to methylate properly, for you to get actually export toxin and so forth out. So we use a binder because when the sauna, particularly you're in sauna for 30 minutes, let's say, and it takes about 10 minutes for the sauna energies to actually start a biological event inside. When you go in, people say, oh, I'm only in for 15 minutes. That's about for an adult, that's about 5 minutes of therapy. So we look for 30 minutes, but we don't get there. I'm a low and slow guy, particularly because we know everybody's toxic one way or another, but we just don't know to what degree. So we arm you with information like detox responses, lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea, headaches, histamine responses like itchy skin or blotchy, stuff like that. If you're getting any of that when you're doing sauna or experiencing that in life, you're probably going through a detox. And so don't be alarmed by that. This is actually good because your body's actually telling you that the systems are working and it's trying to get the poisons, but we can help your body do that. And if you're an older person, your organs, your liver, your kidney, your pancreas, your lymphatic system, it's been overworked. If you've got chronic challenges, it's probably been overworked. It's working overtime and compromised in one way or another. And so using a binder like activated charcoal or bentonite clay or diatomaceous earth, these are all like we call them macro binders. They'll grab environmental toxins. They'll grab the chemicals that maybe are used in your household that you don't realize that what the Sinclair, the number one chemical in your house that everybody uses every day that's the worst for you? I'll give you a second to guess.
No, I don't actually know.
Okay,
Oh,
it's laundry detergent.
oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So the color and the scent, that actually gets woven into your threads. Yes, your laundry smells really good, but you're putting that on your skin and that those chemicals are leaching into your bloodstream. Okay.
Yeah, I
So
would have guessed
detoxing,
phthalates or something, but
yeah. Yeah. So having an awareness of the toxic world we're living in and having a goal to try to stay on top of your game and go for optimal health, and having a consciousness of doing something to detox every day, I think is super important.
I totally agree. We see if we were just to oversimplify, we're looking at dealing with a backlog of toxins that have built up over the decades until we create a healing crisis where our symptoms finally get our full attention. And then as you're dealing with that backlog, there's going to come a time when you actually have to start thinking about maintenance because there's no time where we're not receiving an ongoing toxic exposure anymore. There's no away.
Exactly.
You
You
have to
can't
get
take a
away from the
vacation from the
toxin.
world. No,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. And that's really why I love talking. I love meeting with you and your network and your tribe, so to speak, because I think that people think, "Oh, God, I can't change the world, but the change happens with you. You just take that first step. And if you change, for instance, we're teaching parents and their kids are watching the parents get into sauna and then they go, well, that looks like fun. And then now if you look at outside cultures, the Baltic states, Finland, Sweden, those cultures, there's a sauna in every community. There's a sweat lodge in the Ukrainians. Yeah, everybody does it. They have a sense of community. They look to meet and talk and communicate. They have them in their homes and so forth. It's part of their everyday process. And I think that's what I'm looking to try to shift here today and just in general to make people aware that you can afford this. You can bring it into your home. As you get toxic every day, you can do a little bit of things to detox every day. And my idea is if you do 20, 30 minutes of sauna today, you're going to get rid of your toxins that your body took in yesterday and hopefully start pecking away at the ones that you've been storing.
Yeah.
And you're out that long enough and your kids watch you and, the parents, they grow up with sauna in their lives and that's what they teach their kids. And before you know it, a generation from now, we'll just have a healthier mindset. And I think that's important in today's world.
I totally agree. I think it's so important for us to have a message of hope right now. I know for me personally, I'm a giant wuss. I'm inherently lazy about self care, and I was so sick, I could not function. So I know if I can do it, everybody else can do it.
This is really easy. And I'll tell you the best part about it. When you start doing, you start going, wow, I start feeling well. Actually, my biggest challenge is with Lyme patients that are very symptomatic because they've been sick. They're so sick and tired of being sick and tired that they start getting some results and they wind up
Overdoing it.
negative.
Yes.
Yeah. So I say, slow down, Sinclair. May have taken you 10 years to become symptomatic. This is a fast, even though we are looking for quick solutions, the real quick solution is tuning your body up and having your body do all the heavy lifting. That's when you really see real rapid change. So pay attention to the slow foundational pieces that you can put in place because I just watch people transform. And every day you do an infrared sauna or use infrared to try to help detox, particularly using binder protocols and things like that. Every day you're going to get a benefit. Why not?
Yeah. We don't have to be afraid of this world, and we can stop talking about this young generation like they're going to be sacrificial lambs if we take control.
Yeah, that's it. That's the word. The magic word is the time is.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your contribution to the space, for all of your incredible designs, for making them so accessible to people, especially for people who so desperately need them in the healing process. It's so evident how much care has been taken.
It's our little bit giving back. I think We like to surround ourselves with people that think like us, and we're doing what we can in our own little way to try to keep it together. And certainly, we all know there's a lot of things pulling us apart these days, and having just a place you can go. We said earlier about stocks. We've combined aromatherapy and essential oils and ozone therapy and guided meditation. You can bring all of that into the sauna. So in 30 minutes, you can really tune yourself up. And so there are lots of fun things to do and experiment with. We've got plenty of time to talk about it. You can reach us easily at therasage.com or our 800 number. You can make an appointment, take a look at our stuff. If there's any kind of questions you have, we've got a customer service group that's wonderful, and they're happy to help you with any of your questions.
It's so true. Thank you so much. Can I ask you one last question?
Go for it.
You're an inventor, and I know I can tell you're a bit of a futurist. Where do you think the future of medicine, the future of health is going?
Okay. I think there's two big areas of medicine that are going to explode. One is the area that we're in, which is energy medicine, and the other is emotional healing.
Mm.
I think emotional healing is a well underserved piece. And from what I can see in our clinical approach, you really can't heal completely until you're dealing with the emotional piece. And trauma is trauma. If you get sick in a cold and a sore throat, or you're not going to school and your friends make fun of you because your nose is dripping, it doesn't really matter. It's still a trauma. And so emotional healing, I think, is important. General health, I have faith in the universe. I think we're going through another pullback on our population in general. I think right now, because of the viruses, this is just a curating or a culling process. And so we're in the middle of it. And it's certainly dramatic when you lose a friend or a family member, or you hear about it, or you see the statistics. But in global transition, there's been many waves and trajectories of these kinds of consolidations of population. And you're seeing surges in certain kinds of different diseases and chronic challenges and so forth. What's a little different about today's world is just like glyphosate and some of the chemicals, some of the things that man has done. Generally, the ones that we've talked about before were all done because of environmental changes that came in that really wiped out populations and did things like that. What we have is a collage or a montage of the things that man has done, as well as what's happening in nature. And that's, I think, creating a little bit more extenuated circumstance right now in general. But I think after, there'll be a wave of all new health. There'll be great new technology coming out, great solutions. Just there are new discoveries happening every day. We're coming out with incredible new stuff. In the next 6 months is just, it's mind blowing.
Oh, yeah, stay tuned. Okay.
Every time, stay tuned. Every time I think I've done it, and my wife says to me, "Come on, enough is enough." It doesn't happen that way. So
Doesn't
anyway,
surprise me about you at all.
yeah. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about it, and I'm happy to let people know that as bad as it may look, there's really a lot of great hope out there. But you have to really take a little bit of ownership in terms of your own health. And you can just by, meeting us today and seeing that there are some things that you could do for yourself. You can bring them into your home. You can start to get them into your lifestyle and start making a shift. If you can't change the narrative unless you change the narrative. So the time is now. So I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I hope I shared enough information that people got a glimmer of the things to come and know that there's really light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to stay unwavering. Really, that's the word. Dedicated, focused, and unwavering.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps. I totally agree. Time is now. Thank you so much, Rob.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. Go to detoxrejuvenation.com to find the links in the show notes to everything we covered in this episode. Please subscribe, review, and share with other humans who need this precious information. Let's help each other. Until next time, love, Sinclair.